Have you ever had an idea that was so clear it was like a 3D movie? Have you ever told a friend about the idea and they told you, wow, if you could only make that into a business, you would be rich? Sound familiar? Welcome to Knowledge to Currency. I'm your host, Senator Porter, with my co-host, Roosevelt Williams III, and we're here to help you take action. This is free information. We only ask one thing: build a strong foundation and mindset. We have insight to help you get started. Most of us just need a push.
Build that better. Tradition. Family.
Culture.
Business.
Community.
Welcome to episode 2, Knowledge to Currency. We have our guest, Rod Watson. He's going to discuss luxury real estate, and more or less, not only is he a father, he's a business owner, and just kind of go through his journey and his ways of getting to where he is today.
Absolutely. So get excited, take copious notes. We got Rod in the building. He's going to provide instructional, educational, entrepreneurial content today. Big Rod.
Hey, Roosevelt, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Nakia, appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking forward, man. Let's chop it up and let's dive into it.
All right. So how'd you get started into real estate?
Wow, man. Good question. I mean, really, it just started from, doing research back in the day when I was young and in graduate school coaching at the college level. And I decided that, that I wanted to live life on my own terms. I wanted to not be under someone else's control or, have to actually honestly go to another man and ask another man, can I take off work? Can I go to my daughter's game or any of those things? That was just for me. I didn't want to live life that way. So I started doing some research. One night, me and my wife, she had went to bed and I was laying on the couch and I was watching this show. And I don't remember the show, but, they had these infomercials that would come on late at night, like, 12, 1 o'clock at night, or a.m. in the morning. And it was an infomercial that came on Carlton Sheets, how to buy a home with no money down. Or no money out of pocket, something like that. $175, probably the best $175 I ever spent. And so, I bought the course and, man, I went through it. Like, I read it. I bought cue cards or note cards, and I studied, and I, just understood the, vocabulary or vernacular terms, and just basically just immersed myself into understanding real estate. And I realized how passionate I was about it, that this was a career field that, I wanted to pursue. But then I was like, how am I going to do this, right? I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone that looks like me, and I don't understand the industry. Even though I'm reading and understanding these vernacular and understanding what a mortgage is, what an interest rate is, and term rate, et cetera, title, all of these things, it's like, I want to get out. It's like it's like when you first start playing a sport, you see the guys running up and down the court, and you're like, I want to do that. When I fell in love with basketball, I was like, I saw Michael Jordan play for the first time. I'm like, I want to do that.
Right. But
when, you look at it from a non-physical standpoint, it's about information, knowledge, and experience. You have to get the knowledge first, which is what I did, studying, and then you got to get experience. That means you got to get out there and practice. You got to fail a little bit, and you got to, get with someone that can teach you the business. So about 2, maybe 3.5 years went by. Me and my wife left San Diego. I got out of coaching. We went back to Texas, stayed with my mom for a year, and I got into sales. And then about a year later, we ended up buying our first property with no money down, out of pocket, 100% finance. And that was like our first family home. And we had our second daughter on the way. And that was an exciting feeling, because here I am, just a kid from Fifth Ward, Texas, didn't really necessarily grow up with, a lot, but my mom did the best she could to raise me. My dad, unfortunately, went to prison when I was young. So it was like, that was huge, like how to figure out how to buy your own home. I just finished my master's degree. I was excited. And then I was like, I think I can continue to do this. I want to figure out how to work in this industry. And it just kind of just took off from there, and I dove kind of really, head first into the sales side of the business. And me and my wife started buying properties, and, from there we were just like, let's get our license, and then it just kind of took off from there.
Yep. So at the time you didn't own a home, you didn't know anything about owning a home, but you got the information and that made the light bulb happen.
Yes.
And then you took those steps to take the action to make it work, even
Correct.
though it wasn't perfect at first.
Yep.
You were willing to, hey, I'm on to something. I'm gonna try to do this.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is for me, I wasn't gonna let the fact that I didn't know anything or even fear to impede my progress, if you will, or me being willing to take action. And it's like, as far as I was concerned, I understood that owning real estate was one of the key paths to long-term and short-term wealth, building long-term and short-term wealth.
100%.
And I didn't grow up living in one home my entire life. My mom moved around, but I did realize that in my family tree, in looking back in history at my grandfather, on my dad's side, they owned real estate. His mom owned her own home. My grandfather, had land, and for years he was a sharecropper, living in a house with my grandmother that, basically they were paying, I think they were paying him $145 a week, and back in those times, for a black man living in Texas, that was considered no education, good pay, and you're getting free rent, right? Now reflecting back on it, I mean, you got to look at what we came from, what I came from, post, dealing with looking at my family's history on my mom's side. My grandfather's mother was a slave.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And seeing generationally the impact that slavery had on us as black people,
Sure.
and the circumstances we had to work under, and he worked for, a Jewish lady for 40 years, 30 plus 40 years for her, making $45 a week in free rent. Right. And I watched him be diligent with his money, where he saved up enough money because he was smart enough where he got in the horse business and started basically breeding quarter horses.
Oh, yeah.
He got into the rodeo business, and, he sold his horses, he bred them, and, he made money selling horses. He made money trading horses, and he had some land that his mother left to him, and they had stables on it, and he would rent them out, and things like that. And over time, he saved up his money, and he ended up eventually buying a property on his and having it moved to the land that was basically passed down to him, that was inherited. And so, I realized that I had that in my family tree, if you will, that lineage, and it was like I wanted to continue that on a different level, if you will. And it just made sense. It's like, why limit yourself? Real estate's not going anywhere. There's opportunities out here in abundance. It's just about the information, right? Are you going to spend the time to educate yourself? Are you going to spend the time you got to get out there and take risk? You got to put your money up. You got to do your research first, but there's a risk at anything you do when it comes to investing, right? Or even when you're dealing with people and you're investing in people or investing your time. So, it was just like a no-brainer. I just went off my gut feeling and was like, this is the path I want to pursue, and I've been in it now going on 17 years.
What you said really touched me because, my grandmother, she McAllen, Texas.
Yeah.
Also picked cotton at one point in time of her life.
Yeah.
But how you just said that they lived on a place that they actually got paid to basically make it check to check. And obviously slavery is different from people today. But if you think about
it's still a form of slavery.
Absolutely. Like you work, you make a certain amount of money, you got a certain amount to budget. And like when I worked for Wells Fargo as an example, you get a mortgage, you get paid, and you pay them the money back. And that's what they used to do on the plantations. Yeah. They would set up a store and something, and they'd say, okay, well, when you get paid, we can let you buy this amount of groceries from us.
That's
you
right.
Buy it directly from the plate, and a lot of these institutions kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
and they kept them in debt.
Yep.
And servitude.
Yep.
And I witnessed that growing up. I was born in 76. I'm 45. So, seeing that at that time, I didn't fully understand it. But now that I'm older and looking back, and even as I began to become an adult, I saw the impact that had on not just my family, but other families just like mine that, grew up in the Deep South, where their grandparents and their great-grandparents were sharecroppers, and that was highly common because obviously once slavery ended, that's, we had nowhere to go. They didn't give us our 40 acres and a mule. So a lot of slaves said, okay, well, hell, this is closest thing to freedom. I can come and go, meaning after I'm done working, but I got a place to live for free, and I got a job where they're going to pay me money. Nobody else would hire us.
Right.
And so that really set in my mind the power of ownership, because that's what this game is all about, right? When you really step back and look at it, I play the game of Monopoly with my girls from time to time, and I teach them, like, this is life. Mm-hmm. What do you own? What do you control? Yep. If you don't own anything, you don't control anything, somebody gonna be telling you what the hell to do and controlling you.
That's a fact.
Absolutely, and very, very inspiring because a lot of my peers I see, instead of getting the 40 acres in the mule, they settle for 40 ounces in pit bulls.
Yeah.
And also, I can relate to this table. My family is also in the process from going from cotton to being in Congress. You know, and so can you provide a sequence, a formula for success when you identified, let's say, the problem, where you provided a solution to you making a profit? What sequence did you identify to unlock the key to have that open sesame, like kind of what the aha moment?
I think first you really have to, for me, think about like identity, like who are you, right? And it's never about just doing this for money. It's about what impact are you going to have in society, the people around you, your family, the people you care about, and identifying what are your strengths? You know, what are you good at? Because we all can try and go out and do this and do that, but you're not going to have very much success if you're not really aligned in your life's purpose.
Right.
And I understood my life's purpose was really about inspiring people to be great, to do better than what they are, to outperform or go beyond the circumstances of what they may be currently experiencing or where they're at in life. There's always more we can do. So for me, I didn't put any limitations on myself because I understood my mind is the most powerful thing that I possess. This physical body can fade and go away, but this mind, you know, it's on me to keep it sharp. What you feed yourself, you know, the information. So I was big on information. I read a lot, right? Back then, this was before, you know, the internet. well, the internet was around. Don't get me wrong, but this was before social media. There was no Facebook. There was no Instagram. There was no Snapchat, right? There was no LinkedIn. None of these platforms existed when I was beginning to determine what my career path was going to be. Because keep in mind, I had played basketball, and that was my life, from playing in college, overseas, to coaching. I didn't really see myself doing anything beyond that. But then I really started thinking about, like, I'm really going to have to get out here in society and function, you know, and deal with people and figure out what it is I'm going to do. And I was highly ambitious. I knew I didn't want to go back home, be on the block, or be working in someone's store, or, you know what I mean, just kind of getting by. That wasn't an option for me. So I took that off the table and really applied myself to, you know, once I figured out what my strengths are and my purpose, and I knew that in this space of real estate, when there was a lack of representation, I realized, like, I can immerse myself in this field and be a beacon of light for individuals that look like me, right? Because it's bigger than just the sales side of things, right? And the second thing to that is that my experience working in sales and understanding service, I realized at the end of the day, whether you're selling phones, you're selling sunglasses, you're selling suits, it's about service.
Right.
It's about how you treat people and how you make people feel. People buy from people that they like, or from brands that they like and they identify with, and that move them in some type of way, in a positive way. And so the service has to be there. And that was one of the things that I realized, that, you know, I may not be as talented as you in certain things, but you're not going to provide a higher level of service than me. And you're not going to be more patient than me, because in the sales process, you got to have patience. Yep. People are quick to try to rush somebody to make a decision, when it's about understanding what people want and giving them what they want, and standing behind the product or service that you provide for them. So I made sure that my core philosophy was around understanding who I was, identifying my strengths, and then once I understood that, identifying the career path I wanted to go down, which was real estate, and then how was I going to separate myself from everyone else. And I based it around how you treat people, the service that you provide, your knowledge and information, and providing that level of value to those individuals that I came in contact with. And that's why I'm where I'm at today.
And now you started in regular real estate, but all of a sudden now you end up in luxury real estate. Let's touch on how that happened.
I think it was a gradual transition, because, you know, once I got into real estate, my whole thing was like, I'm doing this same amount of work. I'm going to sell this $500,000 house here, right? And I got this $1 million house, right? So same level of work on the transactional side. The difference is the level of the client. Like you may have to do a little more hand-holding on that $500,000. So that may mean you may be doing a little more work. Whereas with that more experienced buyer or seller, they've been through the process. Now they're looking for someone that's competent, right?
Yep.
Someone that they can relate to, feel comfortable with to handle that, one of the biggest transactions in their life. Mm-hmm. And so I said, it's just about skill set in my mind frame. I can make $15,000 or I can make $30,000.
Sure.
Which one you want to spend your time on? It's about skills, your skill set, your knowledge and information and being competent. So I said, it makes sense to focus on moving into the luxury space because I'm going to be doing the same amount of work, but I'm also going to be working with more experienced, savvy buyers and sellers who have the ability, especially in the California market, right? Mm-hmm. Who have the ability to afford the average price of a home here, which is around $800,000. But when you take it to luxury in San Diego is about $3 million.
Okay.
LA, it's $5 million, right?
Okay.
So there's not a lot of people walking around every day that can buy a $4 or $5 million property. However, when you do come in contact with those individuals, you have to understand how they think. Right? You have to understand how to service them. What are their needs? What do they want? What are their expectations? What are they looking for? And that's where I realize it's really about your skill set, how you present yourself, your marketing, right? And then your ability to get through the grit and the grind of the business to get to the business. Because, it's one thing to say I want to sell luxury, but it's a whole other thing. Are you going to be committed to the process? And so I realized that I'm doing the same amount of work. Why not get paid more by basically providing higher level of value, mm-hmm. service, knowledge, and experience, and just staying committed to the process. And it was just like, that's a no-brainer. So what I started doing was, as I was selling the $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, I started educating myself on how to work in the luxury space. I started studying what some of the bigger agents were doing, meeting with them, going to caravans, touring properties, understanding architectural features about homes, things of that nature. And then I also got my certified luxury home marketing specialist designation, where they teach you the process of how to actually market and sell high-end properties.
That's cool.
Quick question. You've been in real estate for approximately 18 years?
17 this year.
17?
Yeah.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that.
Yeah.
What a year or how long did it take you? Because I'm a firm believer that we move at the speed of our understanding.
Yeah.
So what year did you go from good to great? From, selling to moving into the luxury market?
So I started in the luxury. My first luxury sale was in 2011.
Okay.
Right? That was in Houston, Texas with my wife and I. NBA client for a good friend of mine. At that time, I wasn't thinking about it as, wow, this is this luxury sale. It was $1 million house. And it was just like, I was just excited to sell $1 million house and help a friend. Then in 2013, I sold a property in La Jolla for $1.3 million and doubled into the transaction and made like $82,000. Most money I ever made in my life. Mm-hmm. So I would say around 2012 or 13, that was like the light switch went off for me, and I was like, wait a minute,
I gotta do this again.
Yeah, I made like because I had some other transactions I did, and I was like, I made over $100,000 in a month. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hold on, I just made over $100,000 in a month. Now I need to figure out how to do this 12 months out of the year.
There you go.
Now I'm not there yet, but I'm close.
Right.
And this is the thing, There's a lot of variables and factors, right? In the game of sports, I could physically impose my will on an opponent with my speed, my mind, right, my skill set. But in real estate, it has nothing to do with physical ability, you know what I mean, or talent. Sometimes it's about you got to just get through the grind, the process, because you got to be able to get in front of clients, and you got to earn clients' trust at that level. Like a first-time buyer at a $500,000 or $300,000 or whatever market you're in, they just want to get in the house.
Right.
They don't know the process, so they're going to trust somebody who can at least talk the talk. Whereas on the luxury buyer or seller side, they know whether or not you know your stuff from the minute you started, having a conversation with them. So for me, it was about applying my time into really understanding what the market was like, understanding the product, which is the homes, micro markets, what buyers are looking for in certain markets, what sellers. And I was more gravitating towards sellers and getting listings because that's where the business is. That's how you really thrive and go. And that property that I sold in La Jolla was a listing of mine. So that light switch went off, and I was like, I got to figure out how to do this 12 months out of the year. You know what I mean? And start applying myself to get to that point. And that was like, for me, it was like this adrenaline rush where it was like, I gotta keep going. You know, I gotta keep building up, and I just gotta get there. And however long it takes me, my family, you know, the people around me that are working with me are gonna be better for it. Okay. And that's just what honestly was my mentality. So I would say 2013 was the time that I really, you know, that was that breaking open and getting into the luxury market. And then from there, 2019 was a record year for me because I did right at about 15 million in sales by myself, and the highest sale was 5.5 million.
Wow.
Now, keep in mind, for, you know, a young, you know, black man from Houston, Texas, from Fifth Ward, no family legacy as far as real estate goes, selling or in the real estate business. I left Houston owning real estate, coming here renting, right, with $20,000 in a dream. Right. No guarantee, no certainty, no family, you know, inheritance to fall back on. Right. It was just me, my wife, and trusting in my vision and taking a risk and betting on myself. Grinding. And so, yeah, you know, like, to me, that was the thing. Like, we gonna make it. Like, it ain't no, it's like, it ain't no going back. Right. Matter of fact, we sold our property to even take the option and the temptation to move back to Texas. Okay. Off the table, because that's how committed. Burn the bridge. Yeah. we gonna sink or we gonna swim. Right. Absolutely. And that I just brought the mentality that I had in sports to this business. Okay. You know, it's like, you're gonna have to kill me, or I'm gonna figure out how to win at some point. And that's still my mentality. Like, I'm just like, if I don't know it now, I'm gonna eventually figure it out.
So I do have a question, because you were, you know, some words that inspired me is legacy and, you know, just family. And as you move forward, what's in the future? Are you planning on passing your business to your heirs, so they receive an inheritance, and making their long journey a shortcut? Yeah,
good question. To answer that question, yes, and it's a process, right? It's, you know, when you talk about generational wealth, that's such a, you know, very commonly used word now. And understanding estate planning, I had to go through like learning and asking questions. And so what I started focusing on around 2019 was, okay, you can work at these brokerages and firms. You can help these individuals build wealth, build their dreams. You see a lack of representation in this space. What are you going to do about it? Right. I don't want to ask another man, can my daughter come work at your firm? Right. You know what I mean? And I know that there are hundreds of thousands of people that look like us that are going to eventually be entering the luxury space in the future. Even though there aren't many right now out here on the West Coast, there's tech multimillionaires, right, that look like us, soon to be billionaires because of cryptocurrencies, right? And people that are going to start to continue to receive transformations of wealth being passed down to them generationally. Sure. And some of those people are going to be coming out west and looking to do business. Well, you got to build it and they'll come. Right. And so around 2019, I met with a couple of partners that I am now partners with now in Miami, and we talked about forming our own luxury-based national firm. Okay. And we're going to be launching that this month, and I'm excited about it because we're going to have 2 locations, one in LA, one in Miami, one office in LA, one office here in LA and the other in Miami. And then we're going to expand to Atlanta, Las Vegas, and New York. Oh, man. And one of my partners, she's a Hall of Fame WNBA player. I won't say any names right now because I'll wait for the press release to come out. One of my other partners, he played in the NBA, played with the Miami Heat during the Shaq and D-Wade era. Nice. And then my other partner, she's a black female. She actually, her husband played for the Heat as well, and she's represented some very high-profile athletes in the NBA and sports and entertainment space. So we said, why not? And we're all black, by the way, so we got 100% black ownership, right? Awesome. And I also said, you know, I can go fast by myself, or I can go far with the right people. Sure. And so when I stepped back, I said, you know, this is bigger than just me. You know, even though I want to do something great, I want to do something big that in my opinion is going to help liberate our people, going to help transform this industry and make some big changes where people can now, you know, come to a firm where they see representation that looks like them, both on the agent side as well as the clients, right? And I started seeking out possible partners. And it just kind of organically happened to where we all came together and made the decision to say, hey, you know what, we're stronger together. We're stronger pulling our resources together. We're stronger, leveraging our networks and building something that is inclusive, that is diverse, that is going to, show people that we can do this. How many LeBron Jameses are there out there in the world? There are not that many.
Yeah.
How many Michael Jordans? I haven't seen another one. The closest one to him was Kobe. Right? Yep. And how many Kobes are there in the world? We'll never see those types of guys ever again.
Right.
We'll see some very talented players, but those two right there, even a LeBron James, I don't think we'll ever see that level of type of talent and skill set, at least in my lifetime.
Sure.
However, there's always that one that comes along and surprises us, right?
Absolutely.
But the reality is that there's only so many positions in the NBA, roster or NFL roster.
Right.
Or how many guys are rapping.
Right.
And walking around with stacks of money and showing this facade, and that's not really reality. And our young kids are chasing that.
Right.
There's only so many opportunities, and what ultimately is that going to lead to versus if they see somebody like a Nakia, right, like a Roosevelt or like a Rod Watts that owns a business,
right,
they can identify and see themselves with. Representations is important. Imagery is important.
Absolutely.
And for me, I understood that at a very young age where we're constantly being portrayed in a negative light in the media, right? And it's subtle, and then sometimes it's just downright blatant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we fall for the trick bag because we just want to get to the money because we never had that. We never had that access. We never had that level of being recognized and put on a pedestal, right? So when you step back and look at it, for me, I'm like, this is a great opportunity to show the world and people that look like you and look like us, hey, you can thrive in real estate. Real estate is $1 trillion industry. They don't talk about that. You know why? Because they don't want us in it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's $1 trillion industry. Right now, what time is it? It's 5:57. I guarantee you right now there's a title transaction closing right now.
Oh, for sure.
100%. Right now. There's multiple closing right now, and this happens every day. Titles are being transferred to new ownership every day, and we're not even 1% of that. And you know how long it's been going on? For centuries.
Right.
That's got to change.
Right.
Look at the world we're living in and how much it costs to go to the store and get a gallon of milk.
Yeah,
I'll give you a simple layout. You know what I know what my mortgage was in 2005?
What was it?
Take a guess. On a $157,000 home?
Like $900.
$925. Now, think about that. Bought a house in 2005. Even though I sold the house, had I still owned that house, that mortgage would have I'd be damn near done paying for the house now. Right? But a mortgage of $925 or a house that's paid off. Right. Versus you're paying rent where rent is rising, especially in states like California, at a minimum 5 to 8% a year.
Yeah.
It makes sense to own.
Yes.
There's immense benefits, especially with the equity and appreciation that's takes place. And people talk about, the market crashes. Well, guess what happens when it bounces back? You got equity.
Yep.
When you don't own anything, you're at bait of that landlord telling you, hey, we're gonna raise rent this year, 5% or 8%. And you think it's hard to buy a house? Try renting one in this market out here. So the point I'm making is, man, ownership was important to me. Having that legacy, having that ability to control, which I said from the very beginning, my mission was to control my financial destiny. And I want my kids to be able to see my dad fought for that. He didn't just lay down and just go with whatever the world was telling him his value was. He went out and created his value, and he helped other people do the same. And he inspired other people along the way to do the same for themselves. That's my mission. And when you get to the business side of it, structuring a company like a luxury-based real estate firm, we're not just selling your average $400,000 or $500,000 home. We're doing 10, 15. Right now, before we even open, we already have $43 million in escrow. Almost $2 million in commissions in GCI that's going to be paid out amongst my partners and our agents. National-based black-owned firm, 100%. We control our destiny. My daughters are watching. They don't fully understand what I do every day. Sure. But I got a 17-year-old getting ready to go to college. By the time she's 22, 23, 24, it's going to all make sense.
Absolutely it will.
You feel me? And so when you talk about legacy, it's not just about having things. It's about what example are you setting? What are your kids seeing you do when things get hard? Are you laying down? Are you going to stand up and get through the issues and the challenges and face them head on and still move towards accomplishing your goals? So we've positioned ourselves to now have ownership you know, equity stake in a firm that we still have to build. We still have to grow.
Right.
But with that, we control the destiny and where this company goes. And now when my daughters are of age and they can obtain a real estate license, I don't have to go to somebody and say, can my daughters come work at this firm?
Yeah, absolutely could work with.
They can get the knowledge and information directly from their dad in a loving, caring, patient, you know what I'm saying, and strategic manner.
Sure.
Right? And they can have the opportunity to grow in this industry and sell properties unlimitedly as long as they want to work. There's opportunity out here to buy and sell real estate or invest.
Which is all they could ask for.
That's it. That's it.
So the
I know that's a long version, but I had to give it to you. You know what I'm saying?
No, that
And,
wasn't. That was clear.
That's a long open-ended question, so I had to kind of nail on all different points because
that was clear, complete, and concise, brother.
No, but it's inspirational for a lot of things you said that hit me. Number one, you saw that there was a problem. Instead of crying about it or complaining, you like, I'm going to do something to change it.
That's right.
And if I have to sacrifice and however long it takes, I'm going to do it. Like,
that's right. This
is what I want to, leave for other people. And it's not just me I'm affected. I want to affect the culture. I want to affect everyone.
That's right.
It's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, because I'm tired of going on social media, seeing that, you can start a business. All you need is a Dun & Bradstreet number, LLC, and you'll be rolling in a Lamborghini.
Yeah, it don't work like that.
It absolutely doesn't work like that.
No.
And I want the proper expectations to be set for any individual watching the show. Get inspired from people like yourself. Just anyone that I come in contact with that touches me that way, I'm asking them to be on the show. Just to kind of say who they are, not only to give them their flowers, but to really give people true information that can help transform how we see each other. It's just like I said, like you said, holding the money to the ear and all that stuff. Most of the really wealthy people, they don't do that. Jay-Z doesn't even wear chains no more. Like things are changing. The more money you make, the less flash you want.
I met a billionaire in Miami. I met one out here in LA, and one was driving a Prius, another was driving a Suburban. Wearing some flip-flops and some khaki shorts. The other one was wearing basic T-shirt and some jeans. So, I mean, money is a vehicle, the way I look at it. And people create this facade like it's just easy to get. Yeah, it can be easy, but what are you willing to do to get it? You're going to lie, cheat, steal to get it? You're going to take shortcuts? But eventually, those all lead to dead ends.
Sure.
But if you're going to really work for something that's going to be worth, that's going to have some real worth, there's going to be some pain that you're going to have to suffer to get to that.
Sure.
And that's what wealth is about. Somebody had to suffer. Somebody had to go through some, unless they were doing things illegal. And we know a lot of families did illegal stuff to get their money. But even doing it, somebody had to suffer and there was some pain in order for the next generation to live better.
Correct.
Right? And the wealth is also in the information. In order to maintain that wealth, someone has to be informed on this is what you do. This is how you maintain this wealth. This is how you grow it. This is how you protect it. This is how you're able to determine if someone's BSing you or being upfront with you or trying to take advantage of you. And because guess what? When you get this money, people coming. They coming to try to take it from you.
Yeah.
Every chance they get.
IRS or
CPAs, it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Attorneys, lawsuits, or your family members,
divorce.
like all of that.
Yep.
They always say more money, more problems, right?
That's a fact.
And, there's truth to that. But if you're prepared and understand how to deal with it, in which I'm not speaking from some high horse position, so I'll make it clear, like I'm still learning and growing.
Sure.
But I'm saying from what I have experienced, it's a journey.
Yep.
It's really a marathon.
Right.
When you immerse yourself into this entrepreneur life that everybody wants to be a part of, you better be committed.
Yeah. Absolutely. Otherwise, you'd be broke.
and listen, being broke is okay.
Sure.
You can learn a lot from being broke.
Sure.
I can give you a story about being broke. You know what I mean? I went broke along the journey to get to this point.
Right.
I can pull up my phone and still to this day is motivation. I got negative in my checking account. Went from 6 figures to negative, but I bet on myself and I bounced the hell back.
Right.
And I'm still going. And if it happens again, I'm going to bounce the hell back again.
Sure.
Because I'm not going to get deterred from moving towards what my mission is. And sometimes there's delays in the in the blessings. It just happens. Like there's no. Sometimes there's no answers. It's just it happens.
If somebody wanted to work with you, how would they contact you?
Yeah, I mean, people can reach out to me obviously directly on social media at Rod Watson 23, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on Instagram, on LinkedIn, Rod Watson. You can email me rodwatson@astonrose.com.
Okay.
And people can reach me that way.
All right. Our time is up.
All
I
right.
definitely appreciate you having me on the show. And
That went by quick.
I know it. but I want to have you on again.
Yeah.
In the future.
Yeah.
Definitely inspirational. I always love talking to you, man.
Yeah. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Thanks for having me on.
Man, splendiferous, brother.
Appreciate it.
If we could just have you just touch our
yeah.
our young black and in business brick one time, brother. You are the epitome of young black and in business, brother. And we building brick by brick.
Yep.
You know, Rome wasn't built in one day, but every moment they was laying bricks,
Absolutely.
brother. So that's what we doing. And we want to thank you for joining us.
Yeah, my philosophy is if you build it, they'll come. But you got to get to work.
Yeah. No,
Yes, sir.
Every day you got to put it in.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. It's a wrap.
Thanks.
Thank you.